Hi, my Momafey family. Today, I really wanted to come on to talk to you about being under attack. Have you ever felt like there was something wrong? Just looked like everything started coming at you at one time? I want to talk about that today because many of us are under attack. Now, we know that in the world there is a lot of wars and rumors of wars, and that also helps create this feeling of being under attack. And also, not only that, but we have a lot of things that are happening right here in our for those of us, well, wherever you are in the world, it's a lot going on. So I can probably safely say wherever you are, there is a lot going on. It just happens to be something that we all deal with being in the 21st century and how life is now for most of us. And if we haven't really noticed, we have really been under attack since probably about the last 15 years because it started in the U.S., I know, with the housing crisis. And then it went to the economic crisis. And then we went to the pandemic. And then now we're experiencing something that we have never experienced before in a long time. It's like we're back into, well, Iraq, but we're back into the whole war time. And for many of you who are younger than me, you haven't had this experience before, but I am a child of the parents who went through those wars back in the day. And so I wanted to come on and talk about when we are under attack and we still are trying to become. And so this week I started a preview of a series that I'm going to bring to the Understanding Cycles by Momafey. And the reason why I'm bringing it now, I wasn't going to bring it now. What happened is I would say about a month ago, I woke up and in my time of journaling and meditation, I began to write down things about the book of Nehemiah. And in that book, it talks about how they were under attack, but they still had to build because they had to build a wall of protection. And Nehemiah kind of laid out the strategy that you and I need today in order for us to be able to be in the state that we're in, but also to be able to still grow, still strive to still become. Because one of the things is that we don't want to find ourselves, and I'm working on that myself, is I don't want to get to a point where this all not only end, but it comes into a place where it's manageable and we haven't really grown. Because what happens is sometimes we can spend so much time just trying to get through stuff until we haven't really did anything that would help us when we get through it. And so I started a preview of that particular series. And the name of that series is Winning When You're Under Attack. And it's going to be a part of one of my podcasts. And that particular podcast name is Understanding Cycles by Momafey. And that will start April 2nd on a Thursday, and I'll do it weekly on Thursdays. It'll definitely be up and ready for you to listen to, and it's going to walk us through what that looks like. Because first of all, I would say, a lot of times we need to understand what are the signs that we are under attack. A lot of us don't even recognize the signs. A lot of us don't even, some people, if you live in an area where, there's like, high crime, or not even necessarily high crime, but something could pop off any minute, you live in a state of being ready. It's called a state of being ready. So people who live in that particular environment, you are always prepared for if something pops off. And even though you're going about your day and you're doing the things that you need to do, you are very aware of your surroundings because you understand that at any moment or at any time, something can happen and I need to make sure that I'm ready. And usually you've thought about what you would do if you were in those situations. Now, but for those who live in a more seem like protective environment, a lot of times you're not as ready and not as prepared as people who live in that constant state of having to be ready. And so a lot of times when you're under attack, you can be a easy prey for someone to take you on. And it all has to do with how do you respond when you're under attack. Some people, they run. They are out of there. They are not going to fight. They're not going to confront anybody. They are by all means getting out of there. There are other people who may not run right away. They may look for a place to hide because they want to hide because they're not sure if they're going to be able to get out and be able to get out safely. And then others may say, I'm strong and you come, I ain't going to start nothing. But if you start it, I will finish it. And so they will stay there and they will fight. And they will fight to the end. And then you got those other people who just sit there and they surrender because they don't even want to have to, fight. They don't even want to have to resist. They don't want to have to run. They don't want to have to ride. They just get frozen and they just stand in the place and they cry and they whimper because, they don't know what to do and you're coming at them and they're nervous. But everybody reacts and everybody responds differently. And one of the things that also when we're under attack, we talked about the reactions, but I'm also going into a series and in a preview that I have for that series, I talk about what do you do if it feels like life is coming at you from every direction. And in this particular episode that I wanted to preview, I talk about how Paul, and this is Understanding Cycles is a inspirational podcast. So it's really more about Bible-based and things that God gives me from the Bible, and I talk to you about things that concerning the Bible. That whole series started with times and seasons, and if you go through, it kind of shows you the cycles that we go through. And also right now we're going through a cycle of season of war. So that's a season, and that's a season where you have to be ready for being in a season of war. So in that particular episode though, I talked to you about how Paul was under attack and how Paul was feeling, how he felt. And what surprised me about that particular scripture was that Paul was saying that he was overwhelmed and he didn't think that he was going to make it. And so I go into about what was his outcome, even though he didn't think that he was going to make it. And I don't know about you. Have you ever had times when you really didn't feel like you was going to make it? I have had times when I don't feel like I wasn't going to make it. And I talk about one of those in that episode because there are times when things come at you. And if it's one thing, yeah, you can handle that. 2, 3, 4. Sometimes some people can handle a lot of pressure. But there are some things that can hit you in life that you just feel like, I just cannot do this. Or it may be something that you went through before and you came out of it, but it was difficult and you're like, I just can't go through that again. I know what all it takes in order for me to win, and I just can't muster all of the strength that I need to win. Because sometimes maybe when it happened before, you was younger, you had more resources. Now you're older and you don't have the resources that you had at the time, and you're like, I don't know if I can make it this time and win. Because the purpose of making it is really not just making it through. Many of us, we want to win. And so I talk about that in that episode to get you ready for April 3rd. That's a Thursday when we're going to dive into the Nehemiah strategy and how you can build and while you're under attack. And I'll probably go into also about, recognizing when you're under attack, what to do when you're under attack. And we're going to unpack that all together. And then I also want to talk to you today about becoming. This is a series that I really wasn't sure about bringing right now. But I understand that we are in a time where even though all of this is happening, and if you're anything like me, if I'm under attack, I want the Lord to just deliver me. Don't let me have to go through the whole, season of being under attack. But some attacks is longer than what we, plan for it to be. And a lot of times, because it is longer, we a lot of times don't want to go through it. But a lot of times we still have to live, we still have to grow, we still have to raise children, we still have to manage relationships, we have to manage our finances, and we have to stay spiritually attuned. So what this particular series, Becoming Me, is talking about that. And it's no matter what stage you are in. Some of you are having some challenges on your job just because, they dropping bombs all over the place. That hasn't changed the fact that you having issues on your job, at people or in your place of business, that people are coming at you and you don't understand why. And not only that, a lot of times if you are one that are experiencing sickness in your body, maybe you're going through a cancer diagnosis, that doesn't stop just because they're dropping bombs all over the world. A lot of things are happening around the world, but there still are things that are happening in your life. And we still got to find a way to still become. And so the Becoming Me podcast that I launched in February, I did a couple of previews just like I did for this particular new series. But this is a whole new podcast, and it's called it's called Momafey Becoming Me podcast. And in that particular podcast, it talks about becoming of age, becoming a woman, becoming a mom, becoming a daughter. And this week I talked about becoming a sister, because a lot of us, we have I recognize, and a lot of us have recognized that in childhood, your family is your family. But as you grow up and you become an adult, that changes. And so I talk about how a lot of those things that we had going on in our childhood, how it is now impacting our relationships with our sisters and our brothers. And I talk about a lot of those things that have happened. And I'll give you a couple of, just maybe 2 or 3 steps that you can do if you are experiencing just being in a brother-sister sibling relationship. And I also want to take this opportunity to tell you that I do have newsletters that accompany all of my podcasts. But the 3 podcasts and the newsletter is on my Substack account. And on that Substack account, you'll find the 3 podcasts. It's under Motivate Moment by Mama Faye. And there you can find those 3 podcasts there. And in the newsletters are also separated on each one of those podcasts. And you can subscribe to them and they will come directly to your mailbox. And so what happens is I find that a lot of times when I'm doing a podcast, I try not to make them too long, but there are still more information that I have on the subject. And so what I do is I put it in the newsletter. And so in those newsletters, I have that information in those newsletters. And also, what I found is there's another platform called podbean.com, and you can go there and you can listen to all of the podcasts on different uh, podcast platforms. Like I am on Apple, I'm on Spotify, I'm on iHeart, and I'm on YouTube. And the thing is I went and I checked to make sure that I was on those particular platforms. So if you are riding in the car, you're on your lunch break, you trying to go to sleep, my podcasts are great for those type of situations because you get to listen and you get to hopefully learn. And some of it is really just bringing insight to, like, yeah, that is true. That is something to think about. And it is to get you thinking about your own life and how you can use whatever I'm talking about in your own life. And so I would like for you to go and listen to those particular podcasts. And one of the things that I'm working on as one of my becoming goals is going live. I want to go live on a couple of platforms, and I probably do it on a weekly basis. And I keep contemplating with this because I live really out in sort of like a woods, but it's not really woods. I do live in a neighborhood, but this neighborhood is so noisy. We got a lot of people doing machinery, talking, all of those things. And I want to make sure that when I go live that you all can, number one, hear me without those distractions. So that's why I tend to do videos and I tend to tape my stuff is because I want to make sure that if, noise happen, I can stop it right away and I can resume my tapes as well. So I encourage you to follow me. I'm Momafey-HT on most social media platforms. And, follow me and like and subscribe and, support what I'm doing. And I will, as I always say, I'll see you next time.